Explain to me why you're still networking when you suck at it and you've never gotten anything from it. Explain to me why you've been looking for a mentor for the past 5-6 years and you still don't have one. Both of these come from the same problem. You have horrible, awful social skills, and when you attach these labels of mentorship and networking on top of that, you really don't know what to do because you think there are all these expectations and rules, which to some extent there are, for mentorship and networking. And so your already poor social skills and inability to read the room are just worsened by the fact that you have added on these additional rules and etiquette and expectations. When it comes to networking specifically, do you think that wealthy people are sitting around having networking events so that they can, meet new people and expand their business opportunities? Obviously not. They're having events. And at said events, it could be anything. They are just using basic social skills to build relationships. And that's it. There's no networking. And so when you are going to these networking events and you're approaching it as this weird transactional, I have to prove to people in this room that I'm important and I need to find the important people in this room, there is a very clear reason why that doesn't work. That is not how real relationships work. That is not how businesses are built. That's not how you get opportunities. Now, that being said, do some people who are wealthy come to networking events? Sure. They love doing community service and philanthropy. They are happy to show up to, support a friend or to try and give back to the community or something like that. But they are not there because they are expecting to meet other people of their caliber. Because again, in those situations, you can just show up to any event for that. There are, and not even an event, there are spaces that are just curated for that. The easiest example being something like a country club. People are just going to go to the country club if they're looking to make business connections. Or they're going to reach out to their existing business connections to make business connections. Right? So when you, and I'm assuming you're not, a millionaire, billionaire, you wouldn't have even kept watching this far. Now you have to go to some networking events, right? At some point, you need to start finding ways to expand your circle. You're going to have to go to a networking event or two. And honestly, even myself, when I go to networking events, I have never come away with that like, wow, I'm so glad that I went to this networking event. I've never thought that. However, the reason I find it's important to go is because it's more about the social exercise. For me, it's more about being engaged with the community, meeting other people who I probably would not interact with in real life. And I'm not really expecting to get anything back, but I take it as a space to kind of just do it for the plot, brush up on the social skills, do it for fun. Now, when you are going to these networking events, even if you are desperate, you've been unemployed for a year, you still need to take that same mentality of, I'm not expecting anything to come from this. I'm just doing it from the plot. I just want to come out here, talk to some people, not caring. Totally, I don't care if these people like me, don't like me. I'm just here to talk and see what happens. Even if what happens isn't much. Because when you start taking these events, these networking events, as simple social gatherings, now you're taking away all these, the pressure, all these questions you have about, well, how do I follow up? And how do I get people's number? Do I get people's business card? How do I do it? Enough. These are regular people. If you treat them like they are a regular Joe off the street, and this is somebody that you just started talking to, at a coffee shop, you're going to start to notice you're shifting the social dynamic significantly. And you're taking it out of that transactional, or I'm trying to prove that I am resourceful and I am a good person to know. You're taking away all of that BS, and you're simply making it a relationship. And what people don't understand is there's a concept called weak ties. There's a ton of research on it, a ton of things that have been written about this concept, and everybody doesn't have to be and shouldn't be your best friend or your close friend, right? Obviously. Weak ties are these people that you kind of just know and you never talk to them really. But if you were to reach out and say, hey, don't you work here? I was looking at this and I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that. They will still reply. They're happy to give you help or connect you to other people, even though you have not talked to this person maybe since the day that you met them. I'll give a good example. I did go to a networking event out in Austin, and this was specifically for Black professionals. So often when I'm going to a quote-unquote networking event, it is specifically for like Black professionals, Black young professionals, because especially in a city like Austin, it's very difficult to find the Black community there. And so I find it as a good entryway to start understanding and talking to people about what do they do in town, what parts of town do they live in, and that's kind of how I learn the area and kind of other little cultural nuances of a certain city that I'm in. So one of the young ladies that I met at that particular networking event worked at Suit Supply as a style advisor. Now this was maybe 2 years ago. I'm currently in DC. I'm actually about to move back to Texas, but this was way back when I lived in Texas, so it was at least a year and a half ago from today. A couple of weeks ago, I'm in Austin. The Suit Supply in Dallas had pissed me off. I should write a nastygram about them because they're awful and terrible for any of y'all who are in Dallas. But they pissed me off, and I remembered old girl who works at the Suit Supply in Austin. So I make an appointment with her, and I returned everything that I got from the Suit Supply in Dallas, which I needed at the time. So I returned all of that, and I said I want to make sure it penalizes that sales associate. And then I spent, I think, $2,000 with her. And any other time, she has all my measurements and everything like that, because that's how Suit Supply works. Now, anytime I want something from Suit Supply, all I have to do is call her up and she will order it for me. And she will get the commission from that. And I actually quite like Suit Supply. They have grown on me quite a bit. And Suit Supply is not cheap stuff. So she now has a consistent stream of revenue from this event that happened a year ago. And you know what? When I walked into the store, I've never talked to this lady since that day a year and a half ago. When I walked into that store, she immediately recognized me. She was like, oh, I'm surprised to see you in town, because she remembered that I didn't even live in Austin, blah, 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 from a year and a half ago. So that is an example of a weak tie. Not people that you're super, super chummy with, but they think of you or you think of them, and they are still, you can still find a mutually beneficial balance there. So I say all that to say, a lot of people, when they walk into these networking events, like we've already talked about, people come in with this very transactional mindset, but they don't realize that these are people you need to be making friends with. Friends. They could be very weak friends, but you need to shift that dynamic to a friendly one. You two are friendly, because now when it's your friend, you can text them. Hey, what's up? I'm in your city. Let's go get drinks. Now there's none of this, well, what do I say? And how do I, follow up? There's none of that. It's just, hey, you want to get drinks tonight? Hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to go? Very simple, very straightforward, and it takes out all of this stress that is causing you to have these issues when you are trying to build new relationships. Now, if we take this and put this to the side, and we circle back to what I was saying about mentorship, why don't you have a mentor? Why can't you find a mentor? It is related to the exact same thing. Well, one thing that I want to address, there's a lot of mentorship programs. So especially if you're a student, there might be different programs that are available to you where they try to pair you with somebody, who maybe works in a particular industry or something like that. There's a lot of different programs that you can get into that do assigned mentorship. In my experience, I've been both a mentee in these programs and a mentor in these programs. It never works because that relationship is not there. And there's often not a real incentive for the relationship to be there. And so you might meet once, twice max, and then it fizzles out. Now, I will say sometimes assigned mentorship does work. So for example, at my job, I was assigned a career advisor on day one, not based off of any particular thing. And in fact, me and my career advisor, complete opposites, didn't have a single thing in common. And at first, it was a little strange because we have nothing in common. He's like this tall, white Jewish guy, a little bit quirky, very extroverted. And I'm truly complete. He likes to just run 30 miles for fun. Total opposites. But the difference in that situation is there was immediate and clear incentive. It was very structured. So for me, your career advisor plays a part in your performance outcomes at the end of the year. So I have a vested interest in making sure I am connecting with him on whatever it was, every single month. And on his perspective, I actually don't know what all of his incentives were, but like I said, he is responsible for my performance outcomes, so he also still has that responsibility. So we have that monthly meeting, period. Now over time, so this was many years ago. I think I started working in like January of 2021-ish. So over time, now he's great. He's one of the key people on my board of directors, which is something I haven't gotten into on YouTube yet, but he's one of the key people in my mentorship circles now. And that happened though only because the mentorship program was very, very structured with mutual incentive that made sure to pull that relationship through over years. It's a lot of work to do that in a very informal program. So let's say you're not able to get in some sort of program and have a mentor assigned to you or something like that. Then how do you find a mentor? Again, stop looking for labels. Stop looking for mentors. Most of my friends are so old that their children are my age. And in a lot of cases, their children are older than me. And I don't call them my mentors. Those are literally my friends. And I'm not saying it like, oh, I just call them my friends. No, they're genuinely my friends. So I text them and we hang out and I go to their house and I know about, who they're dating. I go to their weddings. Like, these are my actual friends who I hang out with. And so, of course, with them being older and more established in the things that they're doing, of course, they can provide a mentorship role for the things that I am going through or whatever I want their perspective on. But there's not this weird power dynamic of like, they're the mentor and I am the mentee, and which adds all of this unnecessary BS to actually being able to maintain a relationship. And so again, you shouldn't even really be waiting for networking events. What you need to do is go out and be social. You need to have hobbies, social hobbies. You need to go sit at a coffee shop, sit at a bar, and open your mouth and start talking to people. Yes, talk to people who are older than you. Yes. And talk to them like they are your equal and become friends with them. That is always going to give you a much better return on your investment anyway. And of course, if you're friends, it's much easier to keep up with people. Like all of those old people I was hanging out with in Dallas a year ago before I moved, now that I'm moving back, nothing is different. Because they are my friends. And so it is very easy to keep up with them and know what's going on. And if there is something that I need, now I'm just texting them like, hey, can you help me with this or whatever? And it's not all this awkward stuff that you all end up dealing with. So the reason why you suck at networking, why you suck at finding a mentor, all of this comes down to you are not focusing on your basic social skills and relationship building. You need to get out of this idea of, oh, I need to find a mentor, and I need to network, and I need to find people. Okay? And the last thing that I'm going to leave you with as a little bonus, most people don't know what mentorship is, and they really don't know what the purpose of networking is either. Mentorship is the easiest way to explain this because a lot of people think that when you get a mentor, they're going to hand you something. You only want a mentor because you think the mentor is going to hand you a job. That is not how that works at all. And so you're saying you're looking for a mentor, but what you're really looking for is either an easy way out or you're looking for somebody to give you a handout. And that's not going to happen. Completely unrealistic. And mentors don't want to deal with people who are like that. That's why I don't even like being a mentor for most people. The people that I mentor have very high standards. because they have a lot of stuff that they need to do in order for me to continue to sustain that relationship. Because I am only going to mentor somebody who does the work. I will tell you how to do the work. I will guide you along the way, but you need to know that you're doing the work. I'm not putting any calls on your calendar. I'm not following up with you. I'm not seeing if you're doing what you're supposed to do. But the next time I talk to you, if you haven't done what we talked about, I'm not going to keep repeating myself over and over again and wasting breath. But a lot of you, you're just expecting somebody else to do the work for you. And when that doesn't happen, you're shocked and surprised, and nobody wants to be your mentor. It's the same thing with networking. You think you're going to show up to a networking event and somebody's going to hand you a job. That's so stupid. And it's never going to happen. So, first of all, readjust your expectations around these two concepts. Not only just from the relationship building perspective that we've talked about for most of this video, but also what the actual purpose is and what you are likely to gain from those things. And through this video, even with the networking, I've given you a couple of reasons that I go to networking events that have nothing to do with getting a job. I would never go to a networking event thinking that I'm going to get a job from that. But it's about building relationships that will eventually, probably not even in the near term, that will eventually come together for something that you are looking for. So, hopefully that helps. The one thing that I'll add for you guys is I just recently wrote an ebook that you can download for free. I'll put the link in the bio. It's called How to Be Poor. And like most things on this channel, it's a tongue-in-cheek way of talking about some of those habits that you have and those beliefs and other things that you're struggling with that are keeping you in poverty. So go ahead, check that out. It's only like 12 pages. It's a very short and quick read. And again, it's free. So check that out. And then like, subscribe, all that other good stuff. And stay pretentious, my friends. I'll see you next time.